The Shalach Lach. This is a Torah portion you could describe as the sin of the spies, or the great spy disaster, even. The Hebrew Shalach Lach is send for yourself or send on your behalf. The titles normally come from the first few words or passages in the Torah portion, so that's where the titles from. The portions got broken down by the rabbis over the course of a year so we could get through the Torah in a year. Simple, really. This is where Adonai speaks to Moses, and Moses sends 12 spies into the land of Canaan, one from each tribe. So we'll pick up the story at Numbers 13:23. They went into the Negev, arrived at Hebron. Achiman, Shesha, and Talmai. The Anakim lived there. They then came to the Eshcol Valley, and there they cut off a branch bearing one cluster of grapes, which they carried on a pole between two of them. They also took pomegranates and figs. The Negev, the southernmost part of Israel. Israel's small. 7,995 square miles. Small. I'll give you some perspective. Tasmania is 26,500 square miles. Israel's small. Compared when you think to 8 million square miles of Arab territory. Again, some perspective. If you imagine a football field, yeah, can you see it? Now put a little box of matches in the center circle. That's Israel. It's not really about occupying the land, is it? Safe to say that the children of Israel have to depend on a very, very big God. It says a large cluster of grapes. That'd have been a fair cluster of grapes for two men to carry, by any stretch. They were there to survey the land and scout it out. Any enemy position, the cities, what was really going on, where the enemy was. That was really what they was worried about. Adonai said to Moses, "Send men on your behalf to reconnoiter the land of Canaan, which I'm giving the people of Israel. From each ancestral tribe, send someone who's a leader." Notice I've highlighted there, he says, "Send men of your behalf." On your behalf. Doesn't say on my behalf, does it? Small word, you could easily wash over it, couldn't you? Small word. You must slow down. Because it means a lot. The Lord doesn't need them to go in, does he? They're being sent to reconnoiter, to spy out. Stern chose a good word there. Because it's more than just go and check it out. It means to locate the enemy, see the numbers, see how strong they are, where they are, recon the area. Go out and reconnoiter the land of Canaan, which I'm giving the people. One leader from each tribe, 12 men go in. Understand that these men going in, then, wasn't of the Lord. Is that fair? It was not of the Lord. It looks like he's saying go in. Some things in the Bible can look like they're from God or they're of man, but they're not from God. These parts of Ecclesiastes you have to be very, very careful with, because Solomon, in parts of that book, was very, very jaded. And it's Solomon telling you things, not God, right? So you've got to be careful. What's of God and what isn't? What's of man, what's of God's a blessing, what's of man can be a curse. So don't just wash over. Oh, you could read it, God's telling him. No, he's not. I don't think so. Look at Deuteronomy. These are the words Moshe spoke to all Israel on the far side of the Jordan River, in the desert, in the Arava, across from Suf. It's 11 days' journey from Horeb to Kadesh Barnea. "11 days, think about it. That from Egypt to there is 11 days. That's all it should have took. And it tells you right there, 11 days. And somehow it turned into 38 years. So, some of us could have got there sooner too, couldn't we? But men being men, we sometimes we just like to wander off and go and wallow in a pig pen for a while, don't we? And women, sadly enough. We left Horeb and went through all that vast and fearsome desert, which you saw on the way in the hill country of the Amori, as Adonai our God had ordered. We arrived at Kadesh Barnea. There I said to you, you've come to the hill country of the Amori, which Adonai your God is giving us. Look, Adonai your God has placed this land before you. Go up, take possession of it, as Adonai your God of your ancestors has told you. Don't be afraid. Don't be dismayed." Moses retelling what's happened in our little section of Numbers. He's reminding them. And he's like, don't forget. Don't forget. Why? Because we tend to forget what we should remember and remember what we should forget. Now they're at Kadesh Barnea, the southernmost tip of Israel. He's giving you this land. That's what he's telling them. I don't know, he's giving you this land. You approached me, every one of you, and said, let's send men ahead of us to explore the country for us and bring back word concerning what route we should use in going up and what cities we'll encounter. The idea seemed good to me, so I took 12 of your men. You approached me. They approached Moses. Why? Because they were scared. And then he says, yeah, it seemed like a good idea to me. Good to Moses. So it's Moses, not the Lord. So really, if God tells you to go, you're probably best off going. And don't think too much about it. Sometimes it might, not on the face of it, make a lot of sense. And if you think too much, it's going to hold you back from something beautiful. You have to think about it. So why wouldn't you? If God's telling you, why wouldn't you? He's not going to do it to hurt you. He does nothing to hurt you. And how are you going to know? What if you don't go? You're never going to know. It's always going to be there. I should have gone. It's always going to be in the back of your mind. You're never going to experience his greatness if you don't step out in faith. You've got to put some feet on your face. Getting 20 years down the line, oh, I coulda, shoulda, woulda, don't cut it, does it? If only I did. Now you're living in the past. And don't worry about the future. You know what we've got? We've got now. Let's live in the now. Now is all we have. Don't miss the moment. You don't have to analyze. Rabbi Greg calls it the analysis of paralysis. Or the paralysis of analysis. There you go. I'll get things right, yeah? Put my teeth back in. You want to be the kid that gets up and has a go to strike the ball, don't you? Even if you miss, at least you've had a go. You don't want to be the kid in the bottom corner who's shivering in his boots and his knees and knocking, oh, don't pick me, don't pick me. You don't want that, do you? You want to get out and have a go. Lord can give you a home run if you've never hit a ball in your life. He likes the ones that will have a go and strike. He's always going to get the glory then, isn't he? He uses the fool to shame the weak, to shame the strong. Far out, my head's in bits. I don't think I've had enough coffee. More coffee, quick. What's happened is Moses has succumbed to the pressure, hasn't he? Because he's human. Humans make mistakes. That's why cars have bumpers and pencils have rubbers. You know why? Because people make mistakes. And he caved. Because it's easier to say yes, isn't it? When you're pressured. Oh, I mean, maybe you don't want to offend. Well, sometimes offence is needed because people don't change without it. That's the reality of it, isn't it? Look at Yeshua. He never held back. He said to the religious leadership, you'll strain a gnat, but you'll swallow a camel. You're whitewashed on the outside, but on the inside you're dead men's bones. I've known a few like that. You tithe, you mint, and you dill and you cumin, but and you're careful to do that, but you completely miss the weightier matters that are more important: justice and love and mercy and humility. Don't neglect the former, but make sure you do the greater. Take that plank out of your eye before you try and move a speck out of somebody else's. I've known plenty of them as well. Offensive. And then the kicker on top of all that, you're a brood of vipers. And more than that, so are your dads. Your fathers were vipers before you. And the disciples are like, Yeshua, you stop it, you're offending them. And he's like, I know. They're not going to change if I don't. He's telling them the truth. That's the truth. And they can't handle the truth. So they get offended. And then they make plans to kill him. It's easy to say yes. Especially in today's microwave ping society, isn't it? When everybody wants everything now. 3 easy payments. It's easy. So go and buy that running machine. Because you're going to lose your weight in 6 easy weeks. Until you realise it isn't easy. And then the running machine takes up half your garage. Till you flog it for a third of the price because you're sick of it. You're sick of looking at it. Because it's not easy. It's hard. Hard to get fit. It's hard to do the work, isn't it? But it's right. It's hard and it's tough, but it's right. It's not easy being a believer either. But it's right. And it is good. And the spies should have known better. They knew God was giving them the land. They knew. All of them knew. Right back in Genesis. Abraham passed through the land, the place called Shechem, to the oak of Moreh. The Canaanites were there. Adonai appeared to him and said, to your descendants I'll give you this land. So he built an altar there to Adonai who appeared to him. Clearly, God's saying, I'm giving it to you. It's yours. That's all we really need to know as believers. You've got to be Bible believing, don't you? You've got a biblical mandate to love the least of Yeshua's brethren. It's a biblical mandate. Matthew 25:40. You can say, oh, we're supposed to love everybody and clothe everybody and feed everybody. Yeah, but that's not the context. Context is all important, isn't it? He's talking about his people. The least of these brethren of mine. That's not the church. Church is fraternity. Adelphates. That's not the word. It's adelphos. Delphis from the womb. Brothers from the womb. The same tribe. We're called to love his people. Where are you, church? Where are you? Bible's all we've got. It's all we've got. When it comes down to it, it's all we've got. And it's all we need. It's all we need. It's not about being politically correct. I don't give a toss about politics. I'm interested in the Bible. Biblical. He confirmed it with Abraham. Genesis 15:7. He said to him, I'm Adonai, who brought you from Ur in the Chaldean to give you this land as your possession. They've not got all that land yet. Oh, but they will. When Yeshua comes back, they will. There will be a day. That day will come after the nations surround her. How far away do you think that might be? All nations. We're all supporting Hamas. Every nation. How do you figure that one out? Funding them. Literally funding them with our tax dollars. I mean, the IDF are good, but they're not that good. They're not going to be able to withstand the world. And there's going to be a day she cries out for Mashiach. And he'll go, I'm on my way. And he'll get on that white charger and that sky's going to crack open and then it's on. And it's not going to be pretty for most. I'm establishing my covenant between me and you, along with your descendants after you, generation after generation, an everlasting covenant to be God for you and for your descendants after you. I will give you and your descendants after you the land in which you are now foreigners, all the land of Canaan. Boom. As a permanent possession. What does permanent mean? And I'll be your God. 3 times. Divine perfection. Then to Isaac, stay in this land. I'm going to be with you and bless you. I'm going to give you all this land. You and your descendants. I'm going to fulfill the oath I swore to Abraham, your father. Make your descendants as numerous as the stars. I'm going to give you all these lands. And by your descendants, all the nations of the earth are going to bless themselves. Isaac. Jacob. Your name is Yaakov. Well, you'll be called Yaakov no longer. Your name will be Israel. Thus he named him Israel. God further said to him, I'm El Shaddai, the Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation indeed, a group of nations will come from you. Kings will be descended from you. Moreover, the land which I gave Abraham and Isaac I give to you. And I'll give the land to your descendants after you. And if that's not enough, Joseph. Dying. God's surely going to remember you and bring you out of this land to the land he swore Abraham, Isaac and Jacob. They knew. They all knew. It's their land, given by God. And on top of that, he tells Moses, go and gather the leaders of Israel together. Say to them, Adonai, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac and Jacob, has appeared to you and said, I've been paying close attention to you and I've seen what is being done to you in Egypt. I have said that I will lead you out of the misery of Egypt to the land of the Canaan. Boom, the land flowing with milk and honey. God knows what he's doing. Don't ever think he doesn't. Don't ever think he doesn't know what's going on with you. Whatever it is, he's allowing it. For his purposes. His purposes are good. 430 years they were in Egypt. His purpose. Because He's a God of timing. For everything. And everything in its time. God spoke to Moses. He said, I am Adonai. I appeared to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as the Almighty El Shaddai. Although I didn't make myself known to them by name. What's His name? Yud Hey Vav Hey. How do you pronounce that? Sacred namers. Who's putting the vowels in? He didn't. With them He established my covenant to give them the land of Canaan, the land where they wandered and lived as foreigners. Moses didn't know Him before this. He knew Him as the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He didn't know Him intimately. Yada know Him. Now He's making Himself known to Moses. And you've got to know Him personally. You've got to have that encounter. You can't just wing it and say, well, my granny was a devout believer. Good for granny, but you're not granny. He's a personal God. He has to be your personal Passover lamb. And He's making Himself known to Moses. I'm El Shaddai. Shaddai, he's got a shin. That's why you see on a menorah, shin. 3 letters. It's made up of 3 letters. Shaddai is made up shin, dalit, and yud. Forms an acronym. Shomer Daltot Yisrael, the guardian of the gates of Israel. That's who our God is. And He's giving them the land. And it's the reason He delivered them from Egypt. He parted the Red Sea for that reason. Took care of them through the journey for that reason, to give them the land. And then the spies go in and blow it. No faith, no trust. After everything they've been through. And they come back, and what happens? 40 days later, they returned from reconnoitering the land. They go to Moses and Aaron and the entire community at Kadesh, where they brought the word back to him, the entire community, and showed them the fruit of the land. And what they told him was this: we entered the land where He sent us, and indeed it flows with milk and honey. Here's the fruit. However, they've been all over the place for 40 days. And it is indeed a land of milk and honey. They bring back magnificent grapes, pomegranates and figs. They've been eating manna crackers for far too long, eh? That fruit must look good. That's the good part. And then they turn into party poopers. Nobody likes a party pooper, do they? However, the people in the land are fierce. Of course they are. But God. And He's going to show them who He is. Again, the cities are fortified. Of course they are. Moreover, we saw the Anakim, descendants of Cush, giants. The Nephilim, yeah. And Caleb, he jumps right in. He says, shut up, quiet. Silences the people around him. He's not having a bar of it. He knows how destructive what they're saying can be. And how it can spread. It's like spiritual cancer. It happens in communities, it happens in families, it happens in congregations. It happens. And he dives straight in to cut it off. No, we've got to go. Let's go. Let's get in there. None of this. Oh, well, let's pray about it. Let me pray about it. When somebody says that to you, It's Christianese for, well, I want you to think I'm really spiritual, so I'm going to go away for a couple of days and then I'm going to say no. Or a better one, let's have a committee meeting about it. Seriously. Let's not. Some things have to be prayed for, of course they do. This absolutely didn't. The men who had gone with him said, we can't attack those people, they're stronger than we are. And he spread a negative report about the land they'd reconnoitred for the people. The land we passed through in order to spy it out is a land that devours its inhabitants. All the people we saw were giants. Spreading that negativity. The land devours its inhabitants. They're just making it up. They don't know that. They didn't know that at all. So what? There's giants. We look like grasshoppers to them. It never bothered Joshua. It never bothered Caleb. Go figure. Why? Because our God's a little bit bigger. That's why. David. Little kid. Little 14, 15-year-old kid. And he nailed a 10-foot tall Goliath. Why? Because our God's bigger. That's why. Facing your giants isn't a problem. Well, it shouldn't be, should it? It shouldn't bother us either. Our God's greater. Our God's stronger than any other. They knew it. Regardless, the negative report spread. It's discouraging, it's hopeless, it's gloomy. Totally depressing and bleak. Well, do you roll over to it? Do you? Or do you do something about it? You got to put courage in, don't you? We have to put courage in. We have to give hope with joy. Out there. That's where we should be. Making a difference. Salt and light. In the dark. We haven't got to be the dark. We've got to be the light in it. At this, all the people of Israel cried out in dismay and wept all night long. Moreover, the people of Israel began grumbling against Moses and Aaron. The whole community told them, we wish we'd died in the land of Egypt. Or that we'd died here in the desert. Why is Adonai bringing us to this land where we're going to die by the sword? Crying all night long. Grumbling. Against who? The leader, Moses. Because who do you have a pop at when everything goes wrong? The leader, of course you do. The good old blame game. It's all your fault. It's definitely not my fault. I've not done anything wrong. We wish we'd died in Egypt. Or died in the desert. Can you imagine? We wish we were dead. Really? You're a long time dead. How about you live? And live your life well. And leave a legacy. How about that? Yeshua said, I bring life and life more abundant. Stop worrying about dying for him. How about you live for him? And live well. The way, the truth, the life. Life's precious. And it's a gift from God. Just as the whole community was saying, they should be stoned. They wanted to stone him. Moses and Aaron and Joshua and Caleb, they was going to stone him. After everything they'd done. Everything Moses had put up with. All the complaints, all the criticism. That's leadership for you. When God, he don't like it. I'll tell you that now. He doesn't like it. Look at how he responds. How much longer is this people going to treat me with contempt? Don't like it. Not happy. How long are you going to provoke me, despise me, speak with such hatred towards me? How long? How much longer are they not going to trust me? Especially after all the signs. You're very, very annoyed. And he says, I'm going to strike them. I'm going to do them. I'm going to make them sick. I'm going to destroy them. Pretty intense, right? I'm going to start again with you, Moses. I'm going to make you a great nation. Stronger, better. Intense. They want to kill Moses. He's going through the ringer. He's having a hard time of it. It's a lot to deal with, 2 million. In a congregation. It's like herding cats here. And we're only small. But 2 million. And he's no young buck neither. He's 80. And he's 2IC. He's 83. It's not exactly Batman and Robin, is it? They're tired. But God gives him an out. Maybe God's testing him. Maybe he's testing him in this. There's no way God's going to wipe him out. No way. A lot of times God's testing us and we don't know it. Times when he says, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. And you think, okay, I've got God's blessing. But it's a test. Maybe he's testing Moses. Look at that out. Moses, I love you. We talk face to face. It's not like with Aaron and Miriam. They get dreams, right? But we talk face to face. You loved him. You're the only one. And they're tight. And he says, the people drive me crazy. They drive you crazy. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take them out. Let's start over. But there's a reason Moses was known as the servant of the Lord. And he was also known as the most humble man ever. You find that in Numbers 12:3. Hang on, who wrote Numbers? Maybe a little egotistical. Now, can you imagine that? Moses, he's saying, just write this down. He's like, I can't. Give over. Stop it. I can't do that. Yeah, shut up. Write it down. But he's loved by the Lord because the first thing he does is put his face in the dirt and intercede for the people. That's why. Beautiful, beautiful heart. When the Egyptians hear about this, Lord, and they will, because it was from among them that by your strength, brought these people up. When they will tell the people living in this land, they've heard that you, Adonai, are with this people, that you, Adonai, are seen face to face, that your cloud stands over them, that you go ahead of them in a cloud by day and a column of fire by night. If you kill off this people in a single stroke, the nations that have heard of your reputation will say, the reason Adonai slaughtered his people in the desert is that he wasn't able to bring them into the land. He swore to give them. Beautiful. Brilliant. Don't do it, Lord. He's concerned for the Lord, for his name's sake, for his reputation, and for the people. Please, let Adonai's power be as great as when you said Adonai is slow to anger, rich in grace, forgiving offences and crimes, yet not exonerating the guilty. But because the negative effects of the parents' offences to be experienced by the children, even by the third or fourth generation. That doesn't, people tell, oh, it's generational curse. That's not what it is. You can break, oh, my dad was an alcoholic. That don't mean you're going to be an alcoholic. If you're saved. It's that those who love him to 1,000 generations. It's those who don't love him. Don't love him. Big difference, right? Big difference. He is slow to anger. And you find that in Exodus 34:6. It's show me your glory. When he passed him by. And he gave him his name, Yudhe-Vaveh. Adonai, merciful and compassionate, slow to anger, rich in grace and truth. This is who you are. You forgive offences. I know you love these people, Lord, warts and all. Can you imagine? Can you imagine how happy he was with Moses? When Moses passed away, it was God who did his service. It's just me and him. It's just me and him. He did his eulogy. Strong bond with a relationship. It's just beautiful. Please forgive the offence of the people according to the greatness of your grace, just as you have borne with this people from Egypt until now. Beautiful. Not according to anything else to have, according to the greatness. Not just the grace, the greatness of the grace. But still, he's not happy. How long am I going to put up with this evil community who keep grumbling about me? I've heard the complaints of the people, which they continue to raise against me. Tell them this: as surely as I live, Adonai swears, as surely as I've spoken, I will do this to you. Your carcasses will fall in the desert, every single one of you, included in the census over the age of 20, who've complained against me. Not happy how many was in the census. Tells you in Numbers 1, 603,550 over the age of 20, fighting age men. That was the number they counted. They're going to wander this land and they're going to fall in the desert. So over 38 years, that's 44 people a day. 20 years and older. Until there's only 2 left. And who was the 2? Joshua and Caleb. He set aside those 2. Very, very special. So special, they need a little recognition. Adonai would speak to Moses face to face as the man who speaks to his friend. He'd return to the camp, but the young man who was his assistant, Joshua, the son of Nun, he never left. Why? He wanted to feel close to the Lord. He wanted to get a word. Just a word. Maybe he'll say something. Just a word. Just wanted to be close to the Lord. Maybe, just maybe, he's going to say something. Joshua, the son of Nun, from his youth up, he'd been at Moses' side. All the way through. He understood submission. We don't understand submission or the benefits that there is these days. If you can't submit to somebody you can see, how are you going to submit to somebody you can't? If it seems bad to you, this is when he's old. This is at the end of his life. If it seems bad to you to serve Adonai, then choose today whom you're going to serve. Will it be the gods of your ancestors served beyond the river, or the gods of the Amori, in whose land you are living? As for me and my household, we'll serve the Lord. Far be it from us that we abandon Adonai to serve other gods. That's Joshua. And then there's Caleb. He silenced the people around Moses. We ought to go immediately and take possession. There's no question that we can conquer it. Confident. Jumped in. And he wanted to put down that negative report. And he's a little different. My servant Caleb, he had a different spirit with him. He's fully followed me. Him I'll bring into the land he entered. And it'll belong to his descendants. Different spirit. Good. Different. A tad peculiar. He fully followed me, says Adonai. And here, this is Caleb. The descendants of Judah approached Joshua in Gilgal, and Caleb, the son of Jephunneh. You know what Adonai told Moses about the man of God, about me and you in Kadesh Barnea. I was 40 years old when Moses, the servant of Adonai, sent me from Kadesh to reconnoiter the land. And I brought back to him an honest report. My brothers who went up with me discouraged the people, but I followed Adonai my God completely. On that day Moses swore, surely the land where your foot has been will be the inheritance for you and your descendants forever, because you've followed Adonai, my God, completely. Now look, Adonai has kept me alive these 45 years. So how old is he now? 85. As he said he would, from the time Adonai said to Moses, when Israel was going through the desert. And he's strong. He's 85 and he's strong. I'm as strong now as I was then. I'm ready to fight now. Tough. Feisty. Now here's the thing. Caleb. There's mistranslation, but his name actually means according to the heart. Joshua means salvation of the Lord. So maybe the Lord's sending a message there, eh? He's saying you're saved according to your heart. But what do you need? What's missing? Faith. Saved by grace through faith. Faith is what the Lord is all about. He's amazed by faith in the Gospels. He's also amazed by the lack of it. You only see Yeshua amazed twice. He's not impressed with anything else. Hebrews says this, with whom was God disgusted for 40 years? Those who sinned, yes. They fell in the wilderness. And to whom was it he swore that they would never enter his rest? Those who were disobedient. Disgusted. This letter was written to the Hebrews, Jewish people. Shaul saying, you have to stay faithful. Why? Because they were being persecuted. We don't understand persecution. Not like they had to endure. They were being killed for the faith. And he's trying to put some courage in. He's saying those who were disobedient, they lack the trust. They lack the faith. And just so we're clear, because I don't want anybody feeling like condemned, there's a huge difference between outright fear and outright rebellion. No father says to his child, if they're fearful of something, you disgust me. If they do, they're no father. I'm sure they're out there, but you know the type, the tough guys, eh? But that's not being a father that child needs. They need love, they need reassurance, they need compassion, they need security and trust. And how sad is it if a child doesn't and can't trust his father? Total failure on the father's part. Our Heavenly Father isn't like that. You get sad when he says to us, hey, jump, I'll catch you. And we get fearful. Oh, I can't. That doesn't disgust him. He's not like, I'm mad at you. He's not like that at all. He's sad. Because it's a lack of faith, isn't it? But there's a chasm of difference between saying, well, I'm scared and I don't believe you. Chasm. We all suffer fear. There's nothing wrong with being afraid. He knows we suffer fear. He tells us 365 times in the Bible, don't be afraid. One for every day of the year. All he wants is you trust him. It was John Wayne who said, courage is when you're shaking in your boots and you still mount the horse. Outright rebellion, unbelief, that's an assault on God. It's a direct assault on God. Why? Because it assaults his promises. Because you're calling him a liar. It assaults his power because you're saying he's too weak. And it assaults his faithfulness because you're saying he's going to break his promise. Now, if you're a true believer, you can't say those things, can you? If you can, you don't know him. You don't know him. If you say, well, God, the thing you said, it's not going to come to fruition, I don't believe you. That's pretty bad, isn't it? No faith in it. We've got to have faith. They say faith smells the fragrance before it sees the flower. Trusting is being confident in what we hope for, convinced about things we don't see. And without trusting, it's impossible to be well-pleasing to God. Whoever approaches him must trust that he does exist and that he becomes a rewarder to those who seek him out. Most would say that's a definition of faith. It's really more what faith does. When we have faith, this is what happens. It brings the future within the present. It makes the invisible seen. Faith's amazing. Faith's a gift. It's a fruit of the Spirit. When we love God, we trust him, and when we trust him, we obey him. All that comes when you realize, though, how much he loves us. He loves us, and he loved us first. It's all about his love. So when we love him, we trust him, and we will obey him. In Genesis 26, he's speaking about Abram. He's saying he heeded everything that I said, everything I told him. He followed me. He followed my mitzvot, regulations, teachings. And he was very, very blessed because of it. Faith. Faith. Just obey him. How bad's it going to be? Without trusting, it's impossible to be well-pleasing to God. There's no amount of good works that can compensate for a lack of faith. None. You don't have to work to show God you love him. Show him you're a good little believer. There's going to be times when you do things he hasn't asked you to do, and you don't see any fruit of it. Well, you can't take up the slack of a lack of faith with good works. Cannot. There's nothing wrong with good works. We should all do them, and we've all got them to do. All of us. We've got to have a faith that works, don't we? Faith without works is dead, isn't it? So there's something very right about good works. If they're what God wants, that's the difference. Not works that we want. Faith is going to glorify God. So you're saying, I'm going to give it all up to you. You know what you're doing. You see everything, I don't. We walk by faith and not by sight, right? This is who we're called to be. There's nobody going to tell you it's easy. It's not easy. Look at Luke. Even the emissaries, the apostles, all the boys, they were like, Lord, increase our faith. They had faith, but they needed it to be increased. We've all got a degree of faith, not necessarily the gift of faith. That's a different ballgame. But people do have a gift of faith, like Sammy in India. He's got a total gift of faith. He's never negative, never. There's never anything that he won't have a go at. And we can all ask for more faith. Yeshua said to him, what do you mean if he can? If. Everything's possible to someone who has trust. Everything. Instantly, the father of the child exclaimed, I do trust, but help me in my lack of trust. Help me in my unbelief, Lord. We can all say that too, can't we? I believe, but I've got some unbelief issues. Lord, help me with my unbelief. Everybody can say that. You have to let Messiah be the decision maker in your heart. Better to listen and go, even if you're shaking in your boots. He's going to be the umpire of your heart. He knows what he's doing. And if you're willing, he can and he will use us for his purposes. You don't need a degree in theology. You don't need a PhD. You just need to be willing. And he will qualify the unqualified. Because it's his purposes. It's all about glorifying him and his holy name. He uses ordinary people to do extraordinary things. Because he's God and we're not. He always uses the agency of man. But he's not dependent on us. It's totally the other way around. You don't want, he's going to knock on that door. And you're running and gunning. Trying to keep your lamp filled, but it keeps pouring out because you're running and you're gunning. And he's knocking and you can't hear him because you've got the weight of the world around you. And you just don't stop. Empty yourself and let him fill you. You've got to decrease, he's got to increase. Stop. Faith is being confident in his faithfulness. Sometimes he's going to part the water. Sometimes he'll still the water. Sometimes he's going to freeze that water. But one way or another, he wants you to get out of the boat. I just want to show you something in Numbers 13. The Eshcol Valley, where they cut off a branch bearing one cluster of grapes. They carried it on a pole between them. They also brought pomegranates and figs. Significant? Oh, yeah. Grapes, figs, and pomegranates. Pomegranates are always symbolic of priesthood. The fruit of the Spirit. Figs, always symbolic of Israel. Those who God strives with. And grapes, always a symbol of joy. I don't know, he's sending them a message. He's saying, I strive with you. You're going to be my priest. And in my presence, you're going to have the fullness of joy. Go and possess the land and don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. He encamps all around us. He's got us protected. We've never protected ourselves, not one day. But the Lord has, and he never leaves you. Not for a second. Not for a second. You just don't know how many times he does protect you in this fallen world. You've got no idea. But he just stays anonymous. So I want to wrap up with one last verse from Lamentations. It's a book about inconsolable tears. Jeremiah telling the people that the Babylonians are coming. There's going to be rape, pillage, destruction. People captured. Sounds vaguely familiar. Separating families, killing the weak, taking the strong. Jeremiah's prophesied it, and it's just breaking him. He's weeping and wailing, and he can't help but cry. Because he's got the heart of God. A year after the prophecy, he wrote this. In my mind, I keep returning to something that gives me hope. That the grace of Adonai isn't exhausted. His compassion hasn't ended. On the contrary, they knew every morning. How great your faithfulness. Adonai is all I have. And I'll put my hope in him. Because hope's the anchor to your soul. You've got no hope, you've got nothing. Faith energizes hope. And that's what he's holding on to. The grace of the Lord isn't exhausted. His compassion hasn't ended. But it hasn't. It's new every day. How great is your faithfulness, Lord? He's all I have, and He's all I've got, and He's all I need. When you come to a place where it's not about you, it's not about your stuff, because we've got so much worldly stuff. Forget the worldly stuff. It's going to come and it's going to go. It's about Him. It's about wanting Him. He restores things. Things will come and go. People come and go. But Adonai's forever. And He wants you to hold on to Him, because He's holding on to you. So hold on to your faith. Doesn't matter how dark it gets. We're here to be the light. And in that, we've got to always hold on to the love, even when you don't feel it. Hold on to your faith in God, even when He's silent. And have faith in His faithfulness and hold on to Him. Amen. Shabbat Shalom, beautiful people.